All right, we'd like to have a prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Amen.
Amen.
Look to the flag, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Emergency evacuations and health notifications.
In the case of an emergency, there's exit to the rear door of the chambers here, another one to the right over here. When you leave the rear door, please proceed to the stairway on the right, all the way out the front. Do not use the elevator during emergencies. Ladies' room, men's room directly ahead, men's room on the right, ladies' room on the left.
Thank you, sir. Presentations, we have one tonight. Councilman Kilduff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, I have a presentation for the Smithfield Samaritans. I've nominated Susan and Robert Esposito. Susan and her son Robert are active members of the community that take great pride in the town and their alma mater. The Smithfield High School Athletic Booster Club recognizes alumni for their contribution to the town's incredible athletic teams and seeks to remind the town that once a Sentinel, always a Sentinel. Susan is Smithfield High School alumni and current president of the Boosters Club, and her son Robert, the current vice president and Smithfield High alum, volunteered to host this event. These two exemplify the pride and hometown values many of us hold in high regard. It gives me great pleasure to nominate the Espositos for their continued involvement in organizing of the town's Smithfield High School Hall of Fame.
John, you want a picture with them? You want to take a picture with them?
Yeah.
Move this out of the way. Let's slide this over.
Thank you, Councilman. Moving on to minutes. Move that the minutes of the October 15th, 2024 executive session meeting held pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-5A1, Personnel, Interim Town Manager Robert Selcher be approved as recorded and sealed.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item B, move that the minutes of the October 15th, 2024 open session meeting be approved as recorded.
So moved. Second it.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
1 second.
So my vote is aye, and I abstain from the portion of the meeting for which I was recused.
Thank you. Everyone else? Aye.
Yes, aye.
All right. Appointments, there are none. Public hearings. Conduct a public hearing to consider, discuss, and act upon approving the renewal of the intoxicating beverage licenses as listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations, local ordinances, and a certificate of good standing with the Rhode Island Division of Taxation. Want me to read them all? And this is for intoxicating beverage license renewal, Class A retailers beverage license, Smithfield Liquor Mart. Class B victualler beverage license, Blackie's Bulldog Tavern, Chili's Grill and Bar, Wing Power, Giuseppe's Pizzeria Bistro, Josephine's Coffee Bar, Rocco's Pub and Grub, 12 Acres, Thai Cafe, The Trap North Brew Pub and Grill, Class B victualler limited beverage license for Rally Point Racket Club, Class C bar beverage license, The Village Pub, Class D beverage license, Smithfield Elks Lodge. This is a public hearing, so I declare it open. Anyone from the public would like to speak on these licenses? They can come up and do so. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Pleasure of the council.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on these? All those in favor?
Aye.
Conduct a public hearing to consider, discuss, and act upon approving the renewal of the following 5 victualling-only licenses to include renewal of the extended hours of operation as listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. This is for Dunkin' Donuts on 970 Douglas Pike, Dunkin' Donuts on 471 Putnam Pike, Dunkin' Donuts on 385 Putnam Pike, Dunkin' Donuts at 639B Putnam Pike, and Dunkin' Donuts 259 Putnam Pike. I declare this public hearing open. Anyone want to speak on these Dunkin' Donuts? Seeing none, pleasure of the council.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item C, schedule a show cause hearing on December 3rd, 2024 to consider, discuss, and act upon the possible suspension, revocation, or other sanctions regarding the listed liquor licenses due to non-renewal or non-compliance with the conditions of renewal.
Move to table.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
In lieu of these, I would like the clerk to send a letter to each of these businesses indicating when their licenses expire, and that once the license expires, they have to cease serving the alcoholic beverages immediately.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item D, schedule a show cause hearing on December 3rd, 2024 to consider, discuss, and act upon the possible suspension, revocation, or other sanction regarding the listed victualling-only licenses due to non-renewal or non-compliance with the conditions of renewal.
Move to table.
Second.
Any discussion on this matter?
This would involve a similar letter to these establishments.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item E, consider a show cause hearing on December 3rd, 2024 to consider, discuss, and act upon the possible suspension, revocation, or other sanction regarding the listed victualling-only licenses with extended hours due to non-renewal or non-compliance with the conditions of renewal.
Motion to table.
Second.
Discussion?
A similar letter would be sent to these establishments as well.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 9, licenses. Consider, discuss, and act upon approving the renewal of 4 entertainment licenses as listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. This is for Blackie's Bulldog Tavern, Wing Power, 12 Acres, The Trap North Brew Pub and Grill.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consider, discuss, and act upon approving the renewal of 4 special dance licenses as listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. This is for Blackie's Bulldog Tavern, Wing Power, 12 Acres, and The Trap North Brew Pub and Grill.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item C, consider, discuss, and act upon approving the renewal of 15 victualling-only licenses as listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. This is for Piazzone's, Barnes & Noble, Brewology, Dunkin' Donuts, Gigi's Scoops, Cava, Coffee Connection Smithfield, Kentucky Fried Chicken and Taco Bell, Home to Sweets, Subway, Jersey's Mike's Subs, Powder Mill Creamery, Slice and Scoop, Crumble Cookies, and Holiday Inn Express Suites.
Move passage.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item D, consider, discuss, and act upon approving a new habitually-only license for Fitness 401 LLC DBA Fitness 401 at 970 Douglas Pike, Unit 2, with the hours of operation to be Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances.
Move passage.
Seconded.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Old business, there is none. New business, item A. Consider, discuss, and act upon a bid award for owner's project manager services for projects associated with RIDE Stage 1 and 2 on behalf of the school department. Hello.
Good evening, members of the council. Dawn Bart, Superintendent of Schools. And
Melissa Devine, Director of Finance for the schools.
so we went through the RFQ process to be able to find an OPM for Stage 1 and Stage 2. We received 7 bids. They were scored by the committee. There were actually 2 that came in first place, a second place and a third. So we decided to interview the top 4 of the company. So we formed our committee. Each had the same exact project to respond to, and we interviewed them and scored. We're requesting that Collier's be approved by the town council as it was by the school committee. That was the top scoring company to conduct Stage 1 and Stage 2 for the project focused on the high school.
Dr. Bartz, how did you determine which of Collier's versus Peregrine? They both have the same score.
So the initial scoring was done with all 6 that responded to the RFQ. And then that was based on the RFQ's ranking rubric. And from there, we then had 2 at the top and 1, and then 2 and 3. So we interviewed the 4, but we gave each of those 4 vendors the same to make a presentation. So for instance, we said, here are the priorities of the school department, so everybody had the same information, and then come forward and present it. And they presented to Dr. Botts, myself, Angelo Mancucci, Caitlin, and interim town manager, Bob. And from that interview process, we used a rubric that was used in the past when they did an OPM, when they came forward for the renovation of the schools. And we used that same rubric on who gave the best presentation. Obviously, there's many OPMs in Rhode Island, and a lot of them could do the job. It was who was going to give the best presentation. So what we're asking for approval tonight is to negotiate with the top vendor. If that doesn't work out, then we would be back. We rank them in order based on that rubric.
So based on the best presentation. Thank you.
If I could add to that as well, we looked at we looked at the experience level as well as who could start a project, because we're looking for, to do the project more quickly under emergency health and security.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Tom Hodgkins, 200 Farnham Pike. Is this on? It sounds. Did the bid process include evaluating the town's prior experience with this firm?
Yeah, I think they should stay up.
Thank you. Yes, it did. This firm had actually conducted Stage 3 and 4 on the elementary project, which did come in on time and on budget, for what I was told.
Yeah, I'm aware of the experience that the town had with this firm, and I'm frankly quite shocked that they would be recommended to do any work in this town again. That firm was involved in the bid process and then the construction of the elementary school process. That firm recommended removing about $4 to $5 million worth of work from the competitive bid process and putting it into a non-competitive bid process where that work was going to be done by change order, which means that when it's done by change order, you don't get a competitive bid on that. This firm then approved requisitions for payment and requests for payment on those change orders that were sent to the council that overcharged the town for overhead and profit. And that happened multiple times. And then once they did that, instead of correcting the problem, that firm then acted in a way that was adversarial to the town, not in a way that was in the best interest of the taxpayers. And the pushback came when a number of taxpayers during these meetings in 2020 and 2021 addressed this issue with the council, and the council did take it up. And the council ultimately led to the council retaining their own outside counsel to review the contracts, where it was determined that the school department's counsel didn't draft the contracts correctly, and that the town was being overcharged for overhead and profit pursuant to the contract documents on those change orders. And the OPM wasn't sticking up for the town. The only person sticking up for the town was the former town manager. And then the only reason that we didn't waste more money than we had to on paying those prices for overhead and profit was because of what I think is the diligence of the former town manager in pushing back on that. And I know the council was involved at that point in pushing back on some of that as well. But I spent, a number of people did. There are a number of other taxpayers that were involved. But I spent a great deal of time reviewing these requisitions and reviewing the contracts. And I'm not saying it for myself because there are a lot of people involved, but we saved the town some money there. And it's frankly unbelievable to me that for the council to hear that there are a number of firms in the state who could do this work, and that this would be the firm that was recommended to come back and do work here for the town of Smithfield. And I think that if there's anybody who says that they want better school facilities for the town, the best way to get better school facilities for the town is to take the limited amount of money that we have and to spend that the most effective way that we can. And doing things like taking scopes of work out of the competitive bid process and then overcharging taxpayers for overhead and profit, that is not the way to get the best facilities for people in this town who use these educational facilities. So I know that a couple members of the council were on the council when all of this was happening during that bond project. There's work that didn't get done on that bond project because of overcharging on these change orders. But, I think that if the council has not reviewed the minutes and the meetings from that 2020 to 2021 period involving this firm, I think you should do that before you vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a deadline? Could we table this to review all that stuff? Or we could approve to go out to negotiations and then it comes back before us for approval at that point? Either or?
May I,
Oh, yeah,
please?
of course, yeah.
Okay. So a couple of things. So we're on a timeline for submitting a stage 1 and 2. And so we're not hiring this OPM, we're negotiating with this OPM. And it will not be stage 3 and 4. The only bid that they would be supporting the school department in town with is to hire an architect. Remember, in order to get reimbursement from the state, we have to submit a stage 1 and 2, and the timeline is pretty fast. In addition, this firm also has a lot of experience. They probably have about 17 stage 1 and 2s that they've submitted. They also have experience with submitting for emergency improvements, which is what Dr. Botts had mentioned in her previous conversation about there are some things at the school that take priority. We will not be able to do a state approval of this stage 1 and 2 if submitted on time until approximately 2026. But we know that we want to do some improvements at the high school with an emergency, and they have experience doing this. And again, this is just to negotiate. This is not the only bid that they'd be doing for us, other than the stage 1 and 2, is hiring the architect, which would be done by an RFP, just as this was.
What's the deadline?
So the stage 1 has to be submitted by February 15th. Stage 2, which includes all the design development, and it's probably a huge package. I'm sure that some of you remember the last stage 2 that was done. That is done, has to be submitted by September 15th, and then they make their decision in December of next year. And then following that, you can start to go out to bid for projects. And again, just a reminder, this is to negotiate with this OPM firm.
Timeline for emergency construction, which would mean potentially being able to start some of the projects that were on the priority list that both the council and the school committee, for instance, moving the ILC room, the culinary department, would not be using that timeline. So if this particular OPM were to be approved for us to start negotiations, we would start tomorrow. We would actually be walking the buildings this month and be preparing to have the information to ride really by January, so that potentially we would be in really good shape to be doing renovations by the end of June.
Do you know the approximate budget for this entire project? Like, what's this?
So what happens is the idea of going out for the RFP is to do a 10-year master plan. And so with that being said, that this firm would come in, help build a master plan for the town, because you have a master plan that's going to expire next year, 2027. But by the time you get this approved, it will just be within months that the current one's going to expire. Plus, a lot of the projects have done. Plus, there has been some change after the walkthroughs about what the priorities are in the town, in the school department. So I think before we have to do the master plan and then submit at least for the first 5 years. And again, a lot of this is going to be based on the capital that's available. There's not any bonding projects. We don't know if bonding would be available in the second half, but right now we're concentrating on the capital that's available, that's been awarded to the school department via the town council and the finance subcommittees. So it is, what did we have, 3 and then 2? It was about 600, 700, yeah.
Thank you.
Wouldn't this come before us again? Can we do this contingent on this coming before us again to approve after the negotiations? I mean, what would,
Correct.
would that have happened
We would
anyway?
have to do that because, so
anyway,
what, right,
okay.
so.
Oh, all right.
So what the process
Okay.
would be is the approval to enter into negotiations, negotiate, being positive, successful. Once it's successful, then we would enter into a contract that would need both your approval and the school committee approval.
But what I would suggest is if Mr. Hoskins is correct in what he just said, I think you probably should go back and look at the minutes of those meetings. If that's what he just stated, we have issues, then I think we need to take a look at that.
Why don't we consider this at our next meeting, December 3rd? Put it on the agenda then.
Table it.
So I think.
So you
why don't I-
could, so they
I'll
could
just-
look at the minutes, you mean?
So we have an opportunity to do our due diligence, look at the minutes and see what the issues were.
Again, Colliers was not the stage 1 and stage 2 in the elementary project. It was 3 and 4. This is just the beginning scope of the project with the hope of emergency renovations, where they do have had a lot more experience than any of the other firms that we interviewed.
Well, they might have a lot more experience, but if they took advantage of us, then that's not good.
Please.
Rich Donatelli, 99 Dean Avenue. The one thing that's very important here is that the way the State of Rhode Island Department of Ed has things set up, 4 stages. Stage 1 and 2 are together, 3 and 4 are together. And problems that may have been happening with Colliers, and you can certainly look at all that information, that's on stage 3 and 4. We aren't there yet. Stage 1 and 2 is more about planning, setting up timelines, setting up potential budgets and looking at, the bigger picture type thing, so that then we can go into a 3 and 4. 3 and 4 is where the architect gets hired, is where the contractors get hired. That's where whoever the OPM is will be dealing with us and should be working on our behalf. If Collier's had problems with that on the project, that should be taken into when that comes up for 3 and 4. But 1 and 2 is different. And it's not uncommon, in fact, it's fairly common, that whoever does 1 and 2 is not necessarily the same outfit that does 3 and 4, and they're set up separately. This is really, like I said, to get the planning part down, the timing of it, which one should be done before which one, et cetera. And it's not about actually the negotiation and the checking out of, did a contractor overcharge, undercharge, double charge, whatever the case may be. And I'm not taking that lightly, because that's very important, and it is right that we want to, spend the money as properly as we can so that we get the biggest bang for our buck. All right, but that's the 3 and 4 level right there. So that's the important part of this. Thank you.
Superintendent Barnes, could you, I know you explained this to us when we did the interviews, but could you explain to the town council how the timeline works from now until your February submission, just so they understand the actual timeline involved? I know because of all the paperwork and preparing everything, et cetera.
To be able to meet the emergency, yeah. So if approval was tonight, and thank you for putting us on the special meeting tonight, that's why we were hopeful that we could be here. We would actually be starting the process of negotiations this month. It's really important for us to take the OPM into the buildings. They all had the opportunity to tour the building with our director of facilities if they chose to prior to this project. We did feel that this company in particular knew our buildings well. That was a plus. But we would be moving full ahead with RIDE no later than the beginning of the year, but working through December, looking at all of our projects. Yes, the 10-year plan will be done. The priority for us is to be able to take the capital that we have and to maximize that by having a relocation of our intensive special education rooms, ideally for next summer. The same thing with the CTE. Otherwise, we're on a cycle of going through to the 26-27 school year. Nothing wrong with that. However, I think the school is really in desperate need of some of these repairs. So the committee felt, certainly the two committees, one after the RFQ scored this company, it was tied with another one. That second company that it tied for when it came down to this specific project was not in the top 2 or 3. However, this company remained at number 1 in terms of their presentation and ability to know the project and understand and answer our questions heading into emergency construction.
So this is they're in a consulting role. Is that what you're saying essentially, or no? Is that what this is?
Yeah, so what the goal is to hire an OPM just for the stage 1 and 2 at this point. The RFP did state that it could be possible to go further, but if that, the wishes are, is we're concentrating on doing the stage 1 and 2 so that we can meet that deadline. And also the fact that this OPM has had experience with the emergency submissions to RIDE, where you could submit and get your reimbursement if you know, for cash funding improvements. And like Dr. Bott said, we're talking about the ISE rooms and the CTE.
As well as the bathroom. So we're looking also for, thank you, Melissa, also the company that could be able to, has experience with the paperwork that goes to RIDE, because as you're aware, 35% is what we would count on being reimbursed to the school to be able to go back into project. So in terms of the planning phase, yes, consultation, but also the planning phase, we felt this company could hit the ground running the quickest. And we are only looking at stage 1 and 2.
you know what was the bid? Can you tell us the amount of money?
It wasn't, it was for qualifications. This is qualifications we are coming forward to ask for permission to enter into negotiations for a contract. Each of the firms at their presentation provided some rates. And so but again, it was based on what they thought, based on the how many hours that they thought they were gonna do the job. So that wouldn't be a comparison. It would be entering into negotiations. But when you look at that, if it's not successful, then we would move to the next one and we would come before the council and the school committee.
What do you think, like budget-wise, what do you have for the project?
In terms of the whole project?
No, the cost of this firm, what do you think is gonna be?
So the ranges that were put out there for estimates, and again, please, these are just estimates.
Yeah.
They ranged anywhere from 107, I don't have it exactly with me, but I want to say they were somewhere in the range of like 170 to 250, 260. But again, I'm speaking on.
I just wanted.
So it's somewhere around there, if you had to say a couple $100,000, of which it could be eligible to submit. I noticed in the past that the town has not submitted for the OPM, but you could submit for OPM to get reimbursed. It qualifies, so I would definitely ask that of RIDE, that we would include this as getting some reimbursement.
Thank you.
So would it really hurt to push it back to December 3rd meeting? I mean, it's only 3 weeks. So we can,
I think that certainly is your prerogative. That will push this timeline back. I think the only negative is we would go back to probably the 26-27 school year versus the 25 school year.
Mr. President, I'm comfortable with the explanation that we have, and I'd like to move forward.
You were both here for the time period that we wanted to look back on. Do you recall this issue?
There were some issues, I don't recall offhand, but we resolved everything, I know that. But in detail, I couldn't.
No, I have no details of it either. All I know is it did come up and it was a hot topic. In terms of the timeline, rather than just asking questions, I would like to take this opportunity. Can I make a motion that we can, did you have a motion
Yeah, move forward.
to approve this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the motion? To move
Motion
forward
was-
with as is, written on here? Can we just,
Can you repeat them?
can we just say what the motion is for the public?
For the Smithfield Town Council, on behalf of the Smithfield School District, approve entry into fee structure negotiations with the best qualified company, Collier's Project Leaders, located in Providence, Rhode Island, to provide the services of owner's project manager, or PM, for projects associated with RIDE Stage 1 and 2.
So
e-
moved.
Second.
So either way,
Any discussion?
yeah, we'll have to approve the next step. So we'll have the opportunity to do our due diligence, and if we don't feel that they're, good enough, we'll deny it, but then you'll be back at square one. That's the only thing, so.
We might be, if we waited on it as well. So it
Yeah,
really will
exactly.
depend a lot on the negotiations. This will just allow us to enter into negotiations a lot quicker. If we need to make a change, then we would do that. If not, we can go forward. Thank you.
So to be clear, if we approve this, then you have to come back after the negotiations, and we have to approve the contract itself.
That's correct.
And
You and the
then,
school
and this
committee.
is only for stage 1 and 2, and then we would start the process over for an OPM for stages 3 and 4.
That's correct.
Solicitor Galone, should we add that into the motion, the contingent on? I understand that we're verbally saying it, but if it's not here,
You can add that.
I'm just saying, I didn't make the motion, so I can't change it.
I wouldn't add it in. I mean,
No
if you wanna add it in,
problem
they
with
have to
that.
breathe too.
No problem with that.
motion was made as amended with Councilwoman Toppy's comments.
Any more discussion? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item B, consider, discuss, and act upon a bid award for infrared heater flue pipe replacement at the Smithfield Ice Rink to be funded by the ice rink's operating budget.
Council President, members of the council, TJ Tully, Ice Rink Director. I was before you at the October 1st meeting, and an RFP was approved at that time for the replacement of the flue stacks for the infrared heaters. As a result of that process, we received two proposals, one from Automatic Temperature Control and one from Arden Engineering. And based on that process, I recommend the town award the project to Automatic Temperature Controls at the qualified bid amount of $7,449.
This is a very large range
Yes.
in the bids. Do you have any idea what the reason
I don't know,
for
my
that would be?
estimate, originally I thought it would come in about $9,000, maybe $9,500, somewhere around there. It's a straight replacement, so it's one stack out, one stack in. So I did make it abundantly clear at the project meeting that is a prevailing wage job, obviously, as well, so working for the town. They have done work for the town previously, as I think for the senior center. So I didn't ask them the distance between the amounts, not disparaging, so that's the wrong word, but the distance between the amounts, I didn't have any contact with the vendors, I just went by what they submitted.
Move passage.
Seconded.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, consider, discuss, and act upon a bid award for the, yeah, I still gotta read it, don't I? Consider, discuss, and act upon a bid award for the purchase of infield mix for the town's baseball and softball fields to be funded by opera funds and the Parks Department operating budget.
Good evening, Gene Allen, Director of Public Works. I would respectfully request that this item be tabled.
Okay, yeah, you know.
Motion to table?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item D, consider, discuss, and act upon a bid award for 8 pickleball courts. Color code application to be funded by APRA funds.
Thank you. This is the bid, the RFP that we were before you previously to go out for. We received one bid on it. We had inquiry from another, but they did not submit a bid. The pickleball courts are actually being paved, the binder tomorrow morning. They're all prepped and ready to pave tomorrow. Then we'll put the fence in. That will most likely wait until the springtime, and then we'll do the final cost, and then the color code will go on top.
Excellent.
What's meant by the color coding? Is that, that's not just paint, is that another layer?
It's a 4-layer process that comes in. It's an acrylic coating that seals the court and gives you the different colors that you want to have,
So it's 10 grand a quart, essentially?
pretty much.
Wow.
Yep.
What color we going with?
Haven't got into that yet.
Okay, all right.
I'm sure that'll be the biggest
All right,
debate.
all right.
Would you like to tell me who makes the decision on that?
Can I just ask a general question? I know this is our last meeting. How many more times is this pickleball court going to come up on the agenda? I mean, I feel like we voted on this like 10 times already. Are we going to do this like another 4?
So I apologize for that, but we've utilized the MPA on this, so it was different contractors. So the reason that you see me before you on this is because
It's not like we don't like
the
seeing
first,
you.
the first one was to do the paving, which is the first portion of the paving is being done tomorrow. A different vendor comes in and puts the fencing in. A different vendor comes in and puts the color coding. In my experience, we're actually saving quite a bit of money doing it this way, because if we were going to go out to bid, you would have one contractor who does not necessarily do all of these. He's going to have a 10 to 15% markup. So we're kind of acting as the general contractor and just coordinating all this work.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilman, the other thing too is, we're using the opera funds, they all have to be obligated by December 31st, so Gene's trying to get everything lined up, so we got all the money obligated, and then with the good weather, we can get the whole project done.
Move passage.
Seconded.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item E, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the interim town manager to enter into contract through the Rhode Island Master Price Agreement number 498 with United Fence and Construction Corporation of Johnson, Rhode Island for installation of soundproofing barrier at the Willow Field pickleball courts, sorry, Sean, in the amount of $20,608.00 to be funded by APRA funds.
This should be the last time. The original bid that we went out for was to install soundproofing on the far east side of the courts towards the neighborhood. I've received a few calls with concerns about the noise levels that will be there. And looking at the topography, I believe it is in our best interest, as we did come in a little lower on some of the other items. We do have it in the budget to put some additional soundproofing coming down the sides of the pickleball courts to protect the neighbors from the sound.
Yeah, soundproofing is always good, considering the problems that have occurred in some other communities, so
Yeah.
that's well worth it.
I think it is too.
Move passage.
Seconded.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. F, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a request for proposals to replace the existing HVAC units, condenser units, and DX coil at the town hall to be funded through the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program.
Council members, this is a grant that our planner, Mike Phillips, had secured, and we have the money obligated to the town of Smithfield for this project, and this is the proposal that needs to go out, obviously, to get bids for and award the bid to make the changeover in town hall.
Move passage.
Seconded.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a request for proposals for custodial services at the Town Hall, Ice Rink, and Department of Public Works.
Again, council members, so I've been working with the purchasing agent, Carlos Santos, on this one. We have not had very good luck with the present company that cleans these three facilities. He's spoken to them several times. I've spoken to the owner, and nothing's been resolved. So we're going to go out, request for proposals to try to get another company. And we do have an agreement with them until May, but there is a way out of that agreement. So we're going to line somebody up and then notify them with the appropriate time frame that we no longer need their services.
Move passage.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Oop, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Tom Hodgkins, 200 Farnham Pike. For the funding source listed in the packet, the existing budget is listed as a funding source. Whose existing budget is that?
It's the town manager's budget.
Okay.
maintenance of the building.
And does the scope of work that the company is currently doing involve the ice rink?
Yes. Paid separately, though. That doesn't come out of town manager, it comes out of the enterprise funds.
Okay, because was going to be my question. I'm just trying to figure out if the town is paying for these services at the ice rink out of the general fund or whether it's coming from the enterprise fund.
So the services at town hall are from the operating budget from maintenance of this building. DPW is out as his operating budget for maintenance, and at the ice rink, it's out of the operating budget for the ice rink. And obviously, the funding is through the enterprise account.
So you get separate amounts for each?
They bid each.
They bid it separately for
Yes.
each, so that there's no mixture of the
There is-
enterprise fund with the.
Okay, I wasn't clear because it looked like one bid on here, but it will be
Well, I had the same
broken out in terms of.
They have to price each facility, and we'll award it based upon each facility.
Okay, and then from a mechanical point of view, the enterprise fund reimburses the town for that, or do they pay the cleaner?
No, it comes directly out of his budget. We write all the checks, obviously, but there's monies put aside in the enterprise account that pays for that.
Okay.
So it doesn't get mixed in with our operating funds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Item H, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a request for proposals for the sale of town-owned property located at 321 George Washington Highway, AP 48, Lot 51.
This final item is in regards to the piece of property we own on George Washington Highway, Lydia Rand. It was sold, as you recall, we sold it for $300,000. The purchaser backed out. So this is the same RFP. We're putting a 60-day RFP, or having it out for 60 days, which means it won't come back until January sometime. And I suspect after we review everything, we wouldn't be bringing it to the town council until sometime in February. So we're trying to get as many people to bid on it as possible. And with the holidays coming up, we're nervous about making it too short and not giving enough people enough time to review the property and decide whether they want to purchase it.
Why is the site visit non-mandatory?
It wasn't non-mandatory last time. I don't.
Drive-by.
Yeah, we didn't make it mandatory last time, and we left it totally up to them if they wanted to look at the site or not.
Okay.
Move passage.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment, if anyone wants to get up and speak, they can. I just want to publicly congratulate Councilman Tassoni, Councilman Toppy, Councilwoman Toppy, Councilman Ionati. It's been great serving with you guys, and the town's in good hands. So that's it. Thank you. Motion to?
Motion to adjourn.